In this video, I'm going to discuss distributing, what it means. It has to do with getting rid of parentheses in products. And then I want to warn you or make sure you understand when you have a minus sign in front of a parenthesis, how to deal with that correctly, and when you can drop parentheses. And then I'll end with some more complicated distributing problems like products of polynomials. All right, so let's start with an example of distributing. So suppose that I had 3 times 4 plus 5. Okay, now one way you could solve this, which would be perfectly fine, is clean up the parentheses first. So the parenthesis, let's replace 4 plus 5 with 9, and you would get 27. Okay, now if you wanted to, for some reason, you could do this. Suppose I put the 3 in front of each of the numbers inside the parenthesis. All right, you might be thinking, now why would anybody want to do that? All right, hold that thought for a second. But let's just pretend you did this instead. Okay, so this would 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 5 is 15, and notice that you get the same exact answer you had before. Okay, so I would encourage you to try make up a couple more examples. Put a number in front of a sum or even a difference. Okay, and you'll notice that you have this wonderful property that you can do it both ways. Okay, I'll go ahead and do another one. 2 times 10 minus 6. All right, so I'll first do it by cleaning up the parenthesis, and I get 8. And then I'll do it this new strange way where I put the number in front. Okay, and I wanted to show you what the minus sign does. The minus sign, in this case, you're going to subtract the second product. All right, so this would give you 20 minus 12, and lo and behold, once again, we got the same thing as before. Okay, so now why do we care? Well, later on when we do much more complicated problems, there's going to be situations where you're going to be glad that you can do it either way. Sometimes one way is going to be easier than the other way. Okay, now what would it mean if, and I'm thinking specifically when we get into problems with lots of variables. Okay, by the way, before I talk about the negative sign in front, let's do one with variables. So let's say I had x times 2y minus 3k. Okay, so variables don't get special treatment. We have to treat them just like we treated the numbers in the red and green problem. So I'll just put what's on the outside, the x, in front of each of the guys on the inside. Now it turns out that you couldn't simplify the parenthesis if you wanted to, right? So really, you don't have any choice. This was all you could do for this one. Okay, and then if you like, you can clean this up. Maybe move the 2 and the 3 to the outside. So 2xy minus 3xk. Okay, so sometimes you will have a desire to want to remove the parenthesis, rewrite an expression without parentheses. So you would distribute, and then you would have something like the blue at the bottom. Okay. Okay, so let me give you a few examples, and then I'll continue with some other new stuff. So try to do these, and try to do them the distributing way, not by cleaning up the inside of the parenthesis. By the way, that is a letter A, not the number 9. Let me make it written a little better. Okay, and maybe something with some exponents. All right, so try to do these, and I'll do them in a second. All right, I'll go ahead and do them. So distributing would give you this, which would give you this, which would give you this. The a second one. I don't know why, but maybe you like putting it in alphabetical order. Because remember, the order doesn't matter. A, Y, Y, A, same thing. And then the second one like that. All right. You may have put your terms may have had the variables in a different order. That's perfectly fine. And then the last one. All right. I hope that's good. All right. So what about simply a minus sign in front? So for example, minus A plus B. Okay, we've done numbers, but what about if you just have a dash like that? Okay, now what you're going to do is simply put the dash in front of everybody inside, so you would get that. Okay, there's nothing fancy, there's nothing new going on here, because you can always interpret this as a number if that bothers you. Okay, let me show you what I mean. So if this is making anybody even the slightest bit uncomfortable, let me copy it again. Simply interpret it as, suppose that I had a minus 1 out in front. Okay, if I had a number, I hope you would say, well, we already know how to do numbers, and then you would simply put that minus 1 in front of each of the guys inside, and you would get the same thing. Okay, so a dash, the secret to handling the negation, the dash, the minus, whatever you want to call it, in front of a parenthesis, is treat it like the number minus 1. Okay, and if you have a subtraction inside the parenthesis, well, you hopefully know how to do multiply two negatives together, so I'll do one of those. Minus u minus v, that would be minus u and then minus v. Okay, would give you this. All right, now let's go to more complicated distributing problems. All right, what about if you had this crazy situation? What if you had A plus B multiplied by C plus D? All right, now you might think that that's a little bit unfair, because we've just spent a good amount of time making sure we understand what to do when there's just a single term, or a number, or a power in front of one parenthesis, and now we got to deal with two. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to treat this, how to break it up into things that you already know how to do. Okay, I'm going to take a complicated problem and turn it into multiple simpler problems. All right, how do I do that? Well, take all the pieces of the first. So we have the A and the B. Okay, and each of those gets a term multiplied by the second parenthesis, like that. Okay, now I'm not saying we're done yet. We still have to now work on what we just came up with, but hopefully you'll see that that's something that we've already covered, right? Hopefully you would say, oh, okay, so that's two versions of what we've already done. So I just take the A and put it in front of the C and the D, and then I take the B and put it in front of the C and the D, and so now we have our final answer. Okay, what about if there was some minuses involved? Is that going to trip us up? Well, I don't think it should. What if I had 2u minus 3v, and let's say how about u plus 9v? Okay, so same idea as before. I'm going to take the pieces of the first one and multiply it by the pieces of the second. So the 2u gets in front of the u plus 9v, and then the minus 3v. Look, take notice what I did with the minus. So I'm subtracting the second product. All right, and then hopefully from here it's all downhill. 2u times all the guys on the inside, and then on the second one minus 3v times all the guys on the inside, and you get that. Okay, now you can do this. You can have 10 parentheses all multiplied together. Okay, I won't have you work that out. It would be tedious, but just for sake of conversation, just go with me here for a second. Suppose we had u plus v and a plus b and c plus d plus e, and we just had all kinds of stuff. Okay, what you would do is, remember how I said when I did the first example, the green example, I said that I was taking a complicated problem and turning it into multiple easier problems? Well, at the end of the day, on the bottom situation, you're going to smash it up and turn it into lots and lots of simple distribution problems. Okay, so for that one, you would take the u and the v, so you would have u times all the blob to the right plus v times all the blob to the right, and I'm not writing what goes in the brackets, but let's assume it's 10 other parentheses. Okay, and then once you have that, then you can either simplify what's inside the brackets by splitting that up into pieces, or you can go ahead and distribute the u if you like by multiplying the u by all the pieces inside. Okay, but the point is, it's just going to be, you're just going to be repetitively breaking it up into smaller and smaller pieces at the end of the day. All right.